Hello. For those of you who were watching me like 2 minutes ago, my life is just completely out of control today. I'm so sorry. I had to settle a child and then randomly I had a man come to the door to ask me if I'd like to change my energy provider, and I said to him 3 times, I'm really sorry, I can't do this right now. I'm doing a live chat. He's like, oh, what's that? And I was like, I actually don't have time to explain this to you. You know what? I'm actually just going to start again, but I'm going to start with the book that I was talking about and I'll go back to the other one. Oh my glory, my life is so out of control. This is why it's called like a live, it's live, things are going to happen. Anyway, I am back and I'm going to continue talking about Wandering Star. For those of you who missed it, I just introduced Wandering Star. It's written by Natalie Jane Pryor and it's illustrated by Stephen Michael King. I have read this book all week to kindergarten children right up to year 5 children. Thank you, Michelle. It actually wasn't funny. It was really annoying. I just wanted the salesman at my door to go away. And I have a big dog and I always think surely they won't walk into my property because I have this big dog, but they still do. Anyway, this book is just beautiful. I absolutely adore it. It has this really perfect rhyming text, and I'm sure that Natalie Jane Pryor absolutely agonized over getting this text completely perfect. And Natalie Jane Pryor, I can see that you're watching, and I am back after answering door to the salesman, and you've done a beautiful job with this text. I didn't stumble on a single word as I was reading it, and I have read it so many times over this week. It's a really beautiful story for those readers who love horses, but it's also just a beautifully whimsical text. It's a picture book. I was going to say for older readers, but it's really for all age groups. It's absolutely not just for older readers. It's gorgeous. It's about a little girl who very much adores her horse. I'll read you the first page. I have a horse, a beautiful horse, and her name is Wandering Star. We roam wild and free from the hills to the sea, and it's magic wherever we are. And there's a picture of Wandering Star. Look at that horse image. It is just the most beautiful text, Natalie. Oh, I can see you're saying that it gestated for years. I can tell. I feel like this text probably rumbled around in your head for such a long time and you had to really... It feels effortless when you read it aloud, but I just guess I know from having taught English and poetry to students, I know just how hard it is to get a rhyming text right. And also having read over the years to so many students rhyming texts which don't work, when I find a rhyming text that is just pitch perfect, I just read it and read it and read it. I love the way it rolls off the tongue. It's a beautiful story. It's a dream sequence, really. It's about a little girl having a dream of all of the adventures that she goes on with her horse. There's some darker moments in the book when they get stuck in a cave. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I really love the Stephen Michael King illustrations. I don't know if Natalie's worked with Stephen Michael King before, but seriously, look at that horse illustration. I didn't even know he could draw horses. I mean, the man can draw anything, but those horses are just magnificent. The way the horse moves, I love the feeling of movement. I love the way the pencil lines are left. I love the way there's lots of movement lines in all of the animals that are pictured. Stephen Michael King is well known to me for his dogs. He does beautiful dogs. And I just love, oh Natalie, this is my favourite page. We swim and we race the white horses and chase, squawking seagulls across the bright sand. I didn't read that particularly well then. In a rock pool, I see something gold wink at me. It's a pendant the size of my hand. I just love the imagery on this page. I love the idea of the white caps of the waves being the white horses. It's just beautiful. Anyway, she finds a little pendant. It's a fairy pendant. It's magical, of course, it's magical. And it's an exquisite book. There's, as I said, some scary moments where there's wolves and they're caught in a cave, but nothing particularly scary. I mean, essentially, this is a fairy dream horse whimsical text. It's just gorgeous. I don't know. I just feel like, look at that. Look at the perspective on that. Look at this horse riding over the city. It's just stunning. And then it ends with them curling up to go to sleep in the what I think is probably the morning. Oh, it's just exquisite on so many levels. It reads aloud beautifully. The illustrations are gorgeous. Yeah, really, really love it. I'm just going to briefly go back to the other picture book that I started mentioning. For those of you who missed the start, this one is Me and My Sister by Rose Robbins, and it's a really great book for super young readers that kind of takes you through a sibling relationship where one of the siblings has autism. It's fantastic. It talks about this little guy who has a sister who does things differently to how he does them. She eats different foods. She likes to do things by herself. She gets quite angry sometimes and quite rude. People look at her sometimes a little bit strangely. They say mean things about her, and she goes to a different school. What I love about it is the relationship and how much fun they have together. It's a deceptively simple text in that it doesn't bang you over the head with a message of my sister has autism. In fact, it doesn't mention autism. The only reason you know the child is autistic is, well, you would recognize it if you had a child with autism, but also it says in the blurb on the back there's a little bit of a Autism Awareness Australia has recommended the book. It's just beautiful. It's a great one for diversity. It's a great one for early childhood classrooms just to have on their shelves. I think we need more and more books like this which just talk about diversity, and yeah, this is just love expressed in a different way. These siblings adore each other and have great fun together, and one of the siblings has autism, and that's just the way it is. I really love it. Natalie, the book is dedicated to Elizabeth, and when I gave it to her, she cried, and she's 19. I saw it was dedicated to Elizabeth, and I know that Natalie Jane Pryor, has a daughter called Elizabeth, and Elizabeth loves horses. As soon as I saw that dedication, I got goosebumps. How special to have a book dedicated to you about a topic that you just adore. It's a beautiful book, Natalie. You've just done so beautifully with it. And I've read it aloud so many times this week. I didn't do it justice then, but I promise I've read it aloud beautifully all week. It's gorgeous. All right, my next book is called Love Your Body, and it's by Jessica Sanders. And I've got Jessica Sanders coming to school in a couple of weeks, and I believe she's doing a public event, probably with St. Rita's. I can see Pauline's on here, so probably Pauline, you can confirm that. This is a fantastic book, and again, I just said we need more books like that autism one. Well, we also need more books about diversity in the way bodies look, particularly female bodies. This is not, however, a book just for females. This is a book for everybody. I think this is a really important book to share with everyone. Now, you all know I love a good end paper. Look at those end papers, people. They've got fantastic representation of all different diverse women. And it's by a Brazilian, the illustrations are done by a Brazilian illustrator called Carol Rossetti. It's just beautiful. Jessica Sanders is quite young. I think she's about 19. She's a social worker from Melbourne. I believe this book was initially crowdfunded, and then it has been picked up by 5 Mile Press, who've done a really beautiful job with it. There's a great author's note here, and it is written, she says in here actually, this book has been written for girls and those who identify as a girl. However, the language I have used is not gendered, and the overarching message is universal. And yeah, I totally agree. The overarching message is indeed universal. It starts, your body is unique. No one has a body quite like yours, and that's amazing. Everybody is different, and everybody is a good body. And it basically just takes you through all different body shapes and what your bodies can do. It does have one page about puberty. Your body is always changing, and you will notice some of the biggest changes when you go through puberty. Puberty is a time when your body changes and grows on the inside and outside to look more like an adult's body. So it's, you know, you kind of need to have had some discussions with your children, I guess, before you read this one. But I would say this is a good one from about 8 years up. And when Jessica Sanders, the author, comes to my school in a couple of weeks, she's going to be talking to the year 3 to 6 girls. And I think that will be just perfect. But certainly that's the only message, only page there with anything sort of that might go above the heads of some girls. But I just really love the messages. Our bodies are amazing. They can do incredible things. Bodies are not just to be looked at and admired. Our bodies are so much more than that. It's just really diverse. I love it. It's got some ideas in here with lists about things you can do if you don't feel great about your body. It's just a really positive book. It's got some resources at the end if you're in Australia or New Zealand for people you can reach out to if you're not feeling great about your body. and there's some information at the back about the author illustrator. I really love it. Oh, thank you, Pauline. There's a public event on the 21st of May at St. Rita's with Jess in conversation with Beck Sparrow. So I think that'd be a really good one to get along to if you're Brisbane based. I was actually at Beck Sparrow's house really super duper early this morning after caffeinating myself because we filmed some content for her new e-course. I talked about I can't even remember what I talked about. It was really early this morning. I talked about 6 things about books. So Beck Sparrow is a great presenter and a great MC, so that will be a really good event. So look that one up. I'll link to that one later. Next book that I want to show you is the Turia Pitt one, Good Selfie. Now, I believe this one has almost been maybe self-published. I'm not sure. I didn't recognize the publisher, and I did mean to Google that earlier. This one is fantastic. So I've got the Turia Pitt younger readers edition of her autobiography in my library, and that's been incredibly popular, and this one is about to become super duper popular in my primary school library. I have read the whole thing. I just wanted to check for content suitability for a primary school. I certainly didn't see anything in there that that made me feel it had more of a place in a secondary library, but obviously it'd be perfect in a secondary library as well. Probably wouldn't give it to girls. So I've got a 7-year-old. I probably wouldn't give it to her, but it's absolutely perfect for my 11-year-old. And I reckon probably from about 9, it's absolutely perfect. So there's a few things I like about this. For starters, I like the dust jacket, and I like the cover underneath the dust jacket. It's super nice. It's got it's really well designed to be, so I've got a 13-year-old niece who's quite a reluctant reader. She'll be super pleased I said that. She's always saying, you never mentioned me on your social media. So there you go. I mentioned you, my love. And I think this book will be perfect for her. And in fact, I gave it to her for Easter, and I'm going to check if she's read it yet. The layout is really good. It's super clear. There's a lot of white space. There's images, and there's this bit at the end of each chapter which summarizes the chapter if your child doesn't necessarily want to read it all. These are the chapters here. There's chapters on gratitude, self-talk, confidence, hard times, perspective. And each chapter takes you through some of Turia's advice, and then she also answers questions from girls that she has had sent to her. And there's pictures, often from her social media, of bits and pieces. Now, at the end, there is a resources page, and there's a summary of what's been in the chapter. So it's a really good one for definitely tween and teen girls. Some sections have got, there's pages where you can fill out stuff. So on this one here, you write down a list of all the things in your life that you've made happen, successful wins, things that you're proud of. If this was a library book, I'd probably obviously not want the kids to write in it, so you could photocopy those pages. But this is the sort of book that I think you could give to your tween or teen, girl or boy. It's definitely not gendered, so girl or boy, and they could work through it and dip in and out of it. It's not an onerous read, but it's very beautiful. It's very giftable as well, which I like. I think it makes it a bit special. This is the sort of book that you'd, I don't know, give for a special birthday, I reckon. And then finally, new favourite verse novel. Okay, so disclaimer, they are my words on the top there, endorsing the writing of Pip Harry. Pip Harry is one of my favourite authors. Her young adult books just have blown me away each and every time I've read them. Pauline, if you're still on there, I'm assuming you love Pip Harry young adult books as well. I'd love to know what you thought about this one. I just adored this one. So this is Pip Harry's first foray into writing for a younger audience. This is about a middle primary read. It's a verse novel. So for those of you who are not familiar with a verse novel is free verse poetry. The light has just suddenly come into my house and it's terrible. Sun is setting. And the poems, oh, you adore it. I'm so pleased, Pauline. Each of the free verse poems forms, when they're all put together, they form a narrative. And oh my gosh, I read this when I was away for the night with some friends last weekend, and I couldn't talk to them for quite some time because I literally just had to finish it. I was like, go away, leave me alone, I've got to finish it. I did get a bit teary. It's absolutely beautiful. There's 3 voices in this book, so there's 3 characters. I'm so sorry about the sunlight coming in. There's Noah, who is a surfer and lives in Sydney. And there's Lottie, who is a lover of bugs, and she lives with her dad, also in Sydney. Her mum has passed away, I would say fairly recently, and dad is in a really bad state. And then there's Jack, who lives in a really small town, and he wants to be a cricket star. And Jack's school is hoping to go to the Big Smoke, to Sydney, to see the surf for the first time. There's lots to love about this book. I love a verse novel. I love them for reluctant readers. I love them for keen readers who want to try something a little bit different. The thing I love about verse novels is that every extraneous word is removed and you are left with the heart and soul of the story. And my gosh, Pip Harry has done such an amazing job with this. It is just exquisite. Each of the characters is beautifully fleshed out. I took turns with which was my favourite. But I guess I particularly loved Lottie. I understood her grief for her mother, and I understood her father's hoarding of things since Mum has passed away. Lottie is really trying to move him, I guess, into a better space. She's well supported by her aunt, her mother's sister, and I adored that story. But I also adored the story of Noah, who's really fearless in the surf, and he's got this pen pal Jack from this little town. And I love Jack as well. Jack's mum they're a bit of a battler family, and Jack's mum has to go away to work and he has to go live with his auntie and look after his little sister. And he's, not got the greatest attendance record at school, it'd be safe to say, and he's really trying hard to do the right things at school so that he'll be chosen to go on this trip to see the surf at Manly for the first time. It's just beautiful. Spoiler, of course, he gets to go and see the surf. It's just beautiful. I have a brother who surfs, and I showed him some of the surf scenes, and yeah, he was very impressed with them, so that's great. It's got a really beautiful spine. I like the spine. I love the design of this book. It's just, who's done the design? Sophie Beer. Oh, I like Sophie Beer's illustrations. Yeah, look, it's just exquisite. If you like verse novels, I love verse novels by people like Kat Appel and Stephen Herrick, Sally Murphy, and I absolutely love Pip Harry's foray into verse novels. Pauline, I can see you've said Jack's teacher there. Wasn't Jack's teacher exquisite? She was just divine. In fact, it was Jack's teacher that made me cry a little bit in the story. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it now. Lottie, the little bug collector, writes to the teacher. Lottie's having a really tough time since her mum's passed away, and she loves bugs, and her pen pal is actually the teacher, and she chooses the teacher because I think she has a bit of a tough time with people her own age, having been through quite a lot. Yeah, I love everything about this book, and I cannot believe this sun. I feel like I'm ducking the sun. I'm so sorry about that. The sun's just like chosen to set at the wrong angle. How very inconvenient. Yeah, so they are my 5 books for today. I would highly recommend this one for middle primary readers, and I really hope Pip Harry stays in this space and does some more verse novels. Hope you all have a really great weekend. I have to go and pick up my 11-year-old from the airport in a little while. She's on her way back from Canberra, the end of primary school Canberra trip. Haven't really heard anything about how she is or anything at all, so I suppose no news is good news. I hope you're all having a great weekend. If you are a mum or a mother figure, I hope that you have a great day on Sunday. Like many of you, I will spend most of Saturday cooking and cleaning and doing all of the things so that Mother's Day goes off without a hitch for me. Anyway, my 11-year-old has practiced last weekend making some orange and cinnamon pancakes, which Dan used to make for me, and she's going to make those for me on Mother's Day morning, and perhaps they'll let me sleep in for about an extra 15 minutes. Anyway, that's sort of the way Mother's Day goes, isn't it? So, what can you do? I'm sure it'll be a lovely day. Thanks so much for joining me here. Have a really great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.